Hello, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Si Ria Luz po ito. I am very excited kasi dumating na ang pinakaiintay kong book. Imagine, I've been talking about this book for a while and looking forward to get the Korean. I got that Korean book, but I could not read Korean. So now I got the English version and it just arrived today. So I really wanted to read this book and I wanted to share with you what this book is all about. It's now Amazon's #1 best-selling book, not only in the country but worldwide. So why not? Why not? We can learn something from this book together. So I wanted to share with you um, this book, yung preface ng book para makita natin. It says, Mother of Peace, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. A memoir by Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. And it says, for the first time, I am opening up a window into my life. I do so with the hope that the story of this life, lived in accordance with God's love, will inspire in others the same mission, passion, devotion, and dream. This is my first time to read this, so I want you to also experience the same way. I know that many countries, in, especially back home in the Philippines, have no access yet to this book. So let's read it together. Why not? I think it's a very good thing that we can share this book together with everyone. I am using this live video through my YouTube, Buhay-Buhay sa Amerika, the YouTube channel Buhay-Buhay sa Amerika, and my Facebook page, Facebook wall. I hope that you can join me and we can all learn together. Hello, Cedric GT. Good morning. Hello. At Tamsak din po, tita. Buhay-buhay sa Amerika. Oh, Jawo, ILTP Ken. Thank you so much. In Facebook, we always say likes and heart. But in YouTube, we say tamsak. So if all of you, if you have a YouTube channel, if you could please give me a thumbs up, a thumbs up in this live. Hello, I am still here. Oh no, what happened to my mom just called and I got lost. So let me go back to StreamYard. I should put my phone as I just need to make my phone into setting that I will not be try again. Okay, can you see me? Yes. Thank you so much. I was trying to use my camera, but someone called, so the the broadcast was cut off. So one thing I can share is when you are using your phone, use an airplane mode so no one can call you while you're doing a live, or else once someone calls you by phone, then the whole thing will turn off. Sandali, ha? I will turn off my... Yay! Oh, hello mga aking mga kaibigan at kapatid. Ay, handito na. Salamat sa inyong lahat. Jawo, ILPP Can. My sister M40, which is Lynette. M40 is her husband. Charlotte, hello. Tamsak na kita. Alvin Silva, thank you so much. Charlotte, hello Ria. Yes, let's read it. It's so deep inside. Oh my God, I'm already excited. Nawala ako sa ere. Thank you so much for being here and for joining me. So let's read it together. I am already excited. I wish I can let you read this with me. If we can read this together, I cannot read from here, but I will read from this side. So this is the preface of the book. The book has been endorsed by so many world leaders. I just want to read one endorser of the book. It says, from a child in North Korea to her journey into adulthood in South Korea and on to America, the mission of Dr. Hak Jahan Moon has always been to bring peace and unity among all people. After you read her life story, you will agree that Dr. Moon is the mother of peace, told by Pastor Dr. Mark Abernathy, Connect Point Christian Center, National ACLC Co-President USA. And sabi din ni President of African Development Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Ikinwumi A. Adesina, I wish to commend the founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, for setting up the Sun Hak Peace Prize to recognize the work that make the world a better place, the ideals that you stand for, the world where we live in peace with one another is not only the decent thing to do, it is the moral imperative. There's so many of them who wrote, and I think if you read the book, you will be able to read them all. But for now, I just wanted to read the preface of the book because I'm really, really excited to read this. As I told you, I have the Korean version, and I could not read the Korean version because I don't know how to read Korean. I apologize that until now I still don't know how to read Korean, but I wish I could do it one day. The first says, over her 50 years of public ministry, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, known as the Mother of Peace, has dedicated her life to God and the realization of peace. With the heart of two parents, she and her husband created a global faith community, nonprofit organization, businesses, conferences, and awards. This work addresses so many facets of society and culture, aiming to resolve historical wounds and finding solutions to the world's critical challenges. I wish I can share. I don't know how. It will probably be hard to read together from this very different camera. At the root of all their initiative is a path to strengthen families and prevent the breakdown of society through the marriage blessing movement. As the only woman spiritual leader operating on such a global level, her powerful message, compassion, and empathy have inspired millions to transcend national, racial, and ideological boundaries. As a reader of this book, we invite you to stay updated and connect with those with this initiative. We'd love you to join the conversation and become part of the community. Look for our reader's guide and pre-offers. So please join our exclusive readers list at motherofpeace.com/readers. So for your, if you interested to be part of the community, and I think I am putting myself as a part of that community right now because I really excited to be part of the conversation talking about this book, and I hope you too. This is the preface, Mother of Peace. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. A memoir by Dr. Jahan Moon. The preface and the contents of the book. But right now, I'll read first the preface. I heard it is 500. I don't know how many pages this book is. Well, not 500. I bought this at Amazon.com. 347 pages. We're not reading at 347 pages right now. We'll just be reading at the preface of the book. So hope that you can join me. And this is the preface of the book. It says, Sao Tome and Principe, an island nation of Africa that lies directly on the equator, is a very special to God and to me. It is the place, heavenly nation, a nation where Heavenly Parent prepared the President and the people to receive the holy blessing, the holy marriage blessing, and the youth to make the pure love pledge. After conducting these events, I took a little rest on the tiny island nation of the Seychelles. The crashing waves, the refreshing breeze. I walked along the shore of an emerald green sea whose dancing waves smiled and greeted me. The white sand between my toes was soft and warm. I felt truly at peace, enveloped in a cloudless sky, touched by cool rhythmic breezes and warm sunshine. I saw the beauty God created for us in the beginning, intact and untouched. I communed with God, the one who gives this blessing. You freely gave the creation to us, your children, and you hope to dwell with us in joy and peace. You wish for nothing more than to be the heavenly parent, sharing the beauty of creation with your son and daughter. You created them to grow to maturity, marry with your blessing, and become true parents of their own children. When they fell away, you and we lost everything. We commonly say that when we lose a child, we bury a piece of our heart. Suddenly, losing a beloved child for whom we would willingly give our life brings pain and anguish beyond imagination. Our God, you lost humankind, your family. As you push your way through history, you must have been a traumatized parent who had lost his senses, his entire being in shambles. You were not a God of joy and glory. You were a heartsick parent filled with mourning and sorrow over your lost children. Nonetheless, as Jesus said in the parable of the lost sheep, you could not abandon even the least of your children. As the God of love, you push forward for one day find us, embrace us into your bosom, and realize with us the world of peace that you envisioned in the beginning. It's so touching, just the few paragraph of this preface. You must want us to know you as our Heavenly Parent, the one who is the love of Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother. You want us to live
as heavenly individuals, heavenly families, heavenly tribes, heavenly people, and heavenly nations in a heavenly world. The fallen world lost your ideal of man woman oneness and worship in an incomplete image of the Heavenly Father rather than welcoming and attending Heavenly Parent. Men took the dominant position and shaped Western civilization through the Hellenic and Hebraic traditions. Neither men nor woman Neither men nor women understood the feminine heart of a heavenly mother and the perfect eternal love of heavenly parent. Lacking this existential awareness, the feminist movement that erupted in the West could not but degenerate into one note movement blaming men for all problems. For this reason, I am investing everything to restore to you your original position as our heavenly parent. I travel to the north, south, east, and west in order to teach the truth of heaven's providence to those who have ears but have not heard, and those who have eyes but have not seen. With a desperate and urgent heart, as if searching for a needle in the midst of a sandstorm, while unable to see an inch in front of me, I proclaim the truth of heaven's providence. Like a person who is beside herself with desperation, I embrace the world again and again, loving all your children as my own. With my whole heart, I embrace even among I embrace even those among your children. It's just preface and I'm already theory. theory. With my whole heart I embrace even those among your children who, unaware of the truth, have misunderstood and even persecuted me. As I do, you heal the wounds that they inflict. During the last 40 days of 2019, despite challenges to my health and sometimes physical exhaustion, I continually traversed the earth. I had pledged to complete this path within my lifetime, and I did not break my promise to you. Political and religious leaders lowered their guards, responded, and embraced each other. People began referring to me as the Mother of Peace. I know this fact because she has traveled to more than 40 countries in the last 2019, especially in the last part of 2019. And and she's 77 years old. Now your true sons and daughters who share my passion are appearing. Our skin colors are irrelevant. I have filial children with black skin, yellow skin, and white skin, sons who are Muslim leaders, and daughters who lead large Christian churches. I have sons and daughters who lead nations. All of these mother-child ties came about in your name. My children asked me to bless their nation and religions before them and their people. I talk about you, our Heavenly Father. I talk about Heavenly Mother, hidden behind Heavenly Father, and explain that that if there is an only begotten Son, there is an only begotten daughter. Without parents, there can be no harmony in the family. This is because parents are the center and origin of the family. Likewise, without you, the parent of humankind, there can be no true peace in this world. To this cause, I have devoted my life. At its center in Korea, the nation that gave birth to the only begotten son and only begotten daughter, you have blessed and chosen the Korean people. This is your doing, of which the world is now becoming aware. Our Pacific civilization must learn from the Atlantic civilization mistake. The Atlantic civilization could not realize its own Christian ideals. It degenerated time and time again into conquest and exploitation. In contrast, the Pacific civilization must display a maternal heart. It must grow as an altruistic culture based on true love, as the holy community of Heavenly Parent, setting the standard of living for the sake of others that uplifts all people. This is your wish, and I am offering the remainder of my life to realize it fully. I am weaving the golden strands of your love into a story of shared historical suffering. I look back upon my life as an unrelenting mission to attend God as our parent from the position of His only begotten daughter. Not being able to memorialize everything into one volume, I will share more in the future. As I complete this book, one person I dearly miss at this moment is my beloved husband, Father Samyang Moon. We spent our lives together to convey and accomplish God's will, and he and I experienced much more together than I can share at this time. In September of 2012, he ascended to heaven. As he were here to witness the publication of this book, his face would shine with a joy greater than that of anyone else. The sparkle in his eye is dancing in my heart today. I hope that this book will reveal a taste of your life. I hope that this book will reveal a taste of our life spent together for God's will. Lastly, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to those who devoted their time and expertise to accomplish this book's publication. Well, that is just the beginning, and it it's it is published in Yeojong Chonwon, Sorak, Republic of Korea, February 20, 2020. February 2020, by Dr. Hak Jahan Moon. Since let's just read the first chapter. Chapter 1, My Cherished Lifelong Wish. A woman shouts manse for independence. Manse is a Korean word that means victory for 100 years or 10,000 years, something. Um, it was the 1st of March 1919, the beginning of spring by the lunar calendar's marking of seasons. The temperature remained below freezing, and the people of Anju, a village in Pyongan province of what is now North Korea, were experiencing biting frost. A woman braved the cold to cook her family's morning meal. She lit the wood fire and set rice on the stove, and then her attention shifted from the morning routine. She lifted her arm, and from the back of a cupboard, carefully took an item wrapped in a plain cotton cloth. By the light of the fire and a ray of sunshine shining through a crack under the door, the woman untied the cloth to reveal another, larger and more substantial cloth, one with a red and blue yin-yang symbol on a white background. As she laid it out on the table, the design on the larger cloth came into full view. It was a Korean flag. This emblem of her people was always in this woman's mind, even her dreams. Feeling of sadness and deep emotion rushed into her heart. Hearing the soft cries of her daughter, who was awakening, She rolled up the plug, wrapped it again, and returned it back to the cupboard. With her 5-year-old daughter on her lap, this village woman shared breakfast with her husband, who had returned from his early morning work in the fields. She then busied herself cleaning the kitchen, living room, porch, and yard. A little afternoon, trying to appear nonchalant, she left the house with an expectant heart, her daughter on her back, and the plug in her bosom. A narrow gravel path to the Anju market meandered through her village. It joined a larger road in which she met others making their way: a farmer leading a cow, a young man carrying a heavy load on an A-frame carrier, a mother with a bundle in her head. Some were walking at a leisurely pace, others quickly, all heading for the market. Arriving at her destination, the woman stopped in front of the vegetable stand, centrally located in one of the most crowded areas of the market. Her child woke up from her afternoon nap taken on her mother's back. Turning her head, the mother quietly looked at her beloved daughter and smiled. To this daughter, her mother's smile was the most beautiful sight in the world. Suddenly, a loud shout burst through the quiet of the market. Korean independence! Manse! As if she were a runner, hearing the sound of the starting gun. The woman quickly pulled the Korean flag from her bosom, waving it vigorously. She joined the crowd, shouted Manse! Victory for 10,000 years! With all her strength, she shouted Korean independence! Manse! The first shout had been a signal, and all at once people in the market were taking out Korean flags and vigorously waving them high above their heads. From every corner of the open market, cries out of Korean independence, Manse, reverberated. This woman's voice was the loudest of all, shocked by the sudden melee and scores of Korean flags bursting into view. Market goers, unprepared for the uprising, had to decide what to do. Some fled in fear of possible consequences. Others, the one who believed in their nation's independence, joined the ranks of the demonstrators. The woman had been eagerly waiting this day. She had stayed up many nights with her daughter, sewing her nation's flag, her hand shaking, sitting under a kerosene lamp. She spoke to her daughter about Korea, its people, its faith, its ageless tradition, and the meaning of the Mansei independence movement. Listening to her mother, the little girl nodded her head, taking in everything. Now clinging to her mother's back, she heard the shouts of Mansei. She felt the innocence and righteousness of her countrymen and women dressed in white. She felt the innocence and righteousness of her countrymen and women dressed in white, ready to lay down their lives for the sake of their nation's right to exist. The March 1st independence demonstration took place not only in Anju, they occurred simultaneously in Seoul and across the nation. At most sites, they included a public reading of the Korean Declaration of Independence. This public outcry was not futile symbolism. It was an act of peaceful, non-violent protest, an acclamation that the Korean people will cherish for eternity. Within moments, the demonstrators' ears were assaulted by the sound of whistles and boots. With batons and rifles, dozens of policemen converged upon the market. They mercilessly struck everyone in their path, right and left. People were beaten to the ground, bloodied. The policemen did not distinguish between men or women, young or old. Desperate to protect her daughter, this mother had no choice but to hold back her tears and retreat. Although she was filled with the resolve to stand to the last, she knew that God's wish is for woman, for human fellowship, and that bloodshed would only increase the burden of pain in God's heart. And there was something else. Something told this mother that it was not yet time for her nation to rise. It told her that in the future of Korea, a woman would be born with unprecedented destiny, a woman who could break the mold of this fallen world with this light of hope in her heart. She endured the humiliation of that afternoon. In accordance to God's providence and the absolute faith and love of Christian believers since biblical times. Oh my God, this I know the story of Dr. Jahan Moon. This is just the beginning of the book. In accordance with God's providence, the absolute faith and love of Christian believers since biblical times, that what that woman conceived in faith entered the world 24 years later. To her lineage, the only begotten daughter of God was born as the one called to fulfill that woman's dream. Anju was my birthplace. It was an epicenter of Korean patriotism. It is no coincidence that it was an era in which Christianity was first introduced to Korea. That woman was my grandmother, Jo Won Mo, and she continued her support as the independence movement, and she engaged her daughter, my mother, and me in her activities. I was just 2 years old when my nation's history took its next turn, liberation from the Japanese occupation. On that day, August 15, 1945, my grandmother, Jo Won Mo, again had a child on her back while she shouted Manse. But this time, the child was me. And this time, my grandmother was shouting and waving our national flag with joy and delight for our nation's newfound freedom. God chose our family, a family of 3 generations of only daughters. Jowon Mo, my grandmother, a woman who committed her heart to the independence movement, was an only daughter. Hong Sun-ae, my mother, a woman who single-mindedly committed her flesh and blood to fulfill her faith that she would meet Christ at his second advent, was her only daughter. I was her only child, the only daughter of the 3rd generation. Among the oppressed people of the Korean Peninsula, God's only begotten daughter was born. I, as I write these words in 2019, the centennial of the March 1st independence movement, I am pursuing my forebear's dream, the dream of the ages, the completion of God's providence of salvation through the earth, throughout the earth. Wow, this is so beautiful. And this is her grandmother. Hak Jahan is a middle school student with her grandmother Jo Won Mo, who joined demonstration for Korean independence in 1919. That's isn't this book? I'm um just um just first chapter, and I'm already so excited. Thank you, mother. Please take care of everything. Page 6. Moon, moon, bright moon, the moon, with which Tech Bay used to play. Far away on that moon, there is a cinnamon tree. I cut it down with a jade axe and trim it with a gold axe to build a small cottage where I attend my mother and father. I want to live with them forever. I want to live with them forever. With laden, while laden with sadness, this traditional Korean song also stirs and uplifts the heart. The wish to live forever with one's mother and father conveys the heart of filial piety. We are orphans, far from the heavenly parent whom we have lost. and we have to find our true parents and our original homeland. Nothing leads to greater happiness than being able to attend the beloved parents for whom we long, be it in a palace or a small hut. Everything and everyone loves the sun. Only with the sun can life flourish. The moon, on the other hand, bestows something else. The sun represents splendor, the moon tranquility. When people are far from home, they tend to think about their hometown and long for their parents, while looking at the moon, not at the sun. I have found I have fond memories of gazing at the moon together with my husband. We watch it with many members during the Korean Chuseok Harvest Festival, and at the first moon of the year, nonetheless, these moments were rare. My husband and I could not immerse ourselves in such tranquility. After this work is done, my husband would always say, and so would I, after this work is finished and we have a bit of free time, we'll be able to take a break. Over our years of ministry, one would think there would have been brief moments to relax after completing an urgent task. But for us, free time never materialized. Spurred on by the thought of my grandmother, Jo, crying Manse for the independence and salvation of our nation, I burned with a youthful passion for saving humanity and building a peaceful world. I have always held high and the banner of peace, inheriting the March 1st independence movement, noble spirit of nonviolence and self-determination. Because I live in this sense of urgency, I found myself accomplishing what I would never have imagined possible. Throughout my life, I have done my utmost to fulfill all the tasks that have come to me. I have striven to dedicate myself to living for the sake of others with one heart and one will. I have never given my body the rest it needs. Many were the times I neglected to eat or sleep. That is really heavy. This is just the beginning of the book, and I hope that you too can get the chance to get this book and read it for yourself. I know that this is just chapter 7, and just the beginning of the first chapter. I thank you for joining me in this reading together, and I hope that you too can get the chance to um, get this book, Mother of Peace. I hope that you enjoyed listening to the reading, and I hope that you too can get this. And maraming salamat for joining me, and I wish that you, if you have uh, something that struck you during this um, reading, I hope you can ask question or send your comments below. Thank you so much, Artra. Thank you so much. And he said, shared po. Thank you so much. And to all of you who joined me into this reading of this book, Mother of Peace. This is now the #1 best-selling book in Amazon today. And um, I am just so excited to share with you. If you would let me read one more page on page 7. My husband, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, is often known as Father Moon, was the same. He was born with a strong physique and had been taken care of, and had he taken better care of his health, he would have more time to work for a better world. But he too followed God's will with unflinching devotion, and this damaged his health ultimately to the point of no return. Up to 4 or 5 years before his ascension in 2012, he was in continual motion, living each day as if it were 1,000 years. His work was strenuous, both physically and spiritually. For example, he often spent entire nights in a small fishing boat on rough seas. He did this for the sake of others, setting an example for our Ocean Church members as well as leaders who accompanied him. He wanted to help them cultivate patience and the spirit to overcome hardship. Father Moon constantly traveled between continents, and it usually was between east and west, which takes a much greater toll than traveling between north and south. Considering his age, he traveled far too often between Korea and United States. He should have limited such trips to once every 2 or 3 years, but he would not consider it. The year before his passing at age 92, he traveled between Korea and America at least 8 times. It was a complete self-sacrifice offered solely for God and humankind. Father Moon's daily schedule itself was grueling. Every morning he would rise at 3 a.m., exercise, pray, and study. At 5 a.m., he led Hunduke, which means gathering to read and learn, like what we're doing. We're doing Hunduke. Um, with followers. It was a time of devotional scripture reading, prayer, and instruction. During Hinduke, my husband had so much to share as it was not uncommon for it to continue up to 10 hours, skipping breakfast and lunch. No sooner would he conclude the session than he would grab a quick bite and depart to visit a movement project. In the final years while in Korea, he would travel by helicopter to Gaemon Island or Yoso, where he were developing fishing, recreational, educational facilities. Oh, this is still quite several pages. Uh, and thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that it's not too long for you. Uh, ah, so yours is still on the way. If you want me to continue reading, give me a message. Yes, that's tremendous message from True Mother. That's everyone to read this. Thank you, KJ Blogs. Yes, and maybe I should read one more paragraph. Into his 70s, Father Moon could handle this physically, but in his last decade, it could wear him out, and he would end up with a cold or worse. Of course, he would ignore the symptom, and then during the summer of 2012, he caught a deep chest cold that was particularly alarming. We should have gone to the hospital immediately, but he kept postponing it and saying over and over, "We can go after this is done." Eventually, the decision was non-negotiable. He had to go to the hospital. His body was already in a fragile state. He was hospitalized for a short time, but as soon as his medical examination were finished, he stubbornly insisted on being discharged. We tried to persuade him to stay longer, but he wouldn't listen. "I still have a lot of work to do. I can't just sit here in the hospital," he said, scolding the people who advised him to stay. There was no choice but to discharge him. That was August 2012. We arrived home, and all of a sudden he said, I want to have breakfast sitting opposite you, Oma." The members who heard this weren't sure they heard him right, because I always sat next to my husband during meals, not facing him. And then, when the food was served, my husband seemed uninterested in eating. He just gazed at me as if he were trying to engrave in my face, as if he were trying to engrave my face in his heart. I smiled and pulled a spoon in his hand and something from the side dishes on his plate. "These vegetables are delicious, so take your time to eat," I said. The next day, the sun was unusually strong, even for midsummer. In the oppressive heat, Father Moon toured parts of our Chonwon complex in the shores of Chongpyong Lake, accompanied by oxygen tank larger than himself. Upon his return to our home, Cheonjong-gung, he asked me to bring a voice recorder. With the recorder in his hand, he fell into deep thought for 10 minutes, and then little by little began recording his thoughts. He started that when we transcend the history of the fall and return to the original Garden of Eden, following only God, we can then move to the direction of the kingdom of heaven. He also proclaimed that we can restore nations through fulfilling the mission of guiding our tribes. It was a soliloquy and prayer that embrace the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega. Everything has been accomplished. I offer everything to heaven, he said in closing. Everything has been brought to its consummation, completion, and conclusion. This turned out to be Father's final prayer. With it, he brought his life to a close, breathing with some difficulty for a moment. He squeezed my hand tightly. Mother, thank you. Mother, please take care of everything. I'm so sorry and I'm truly grateful, he said, struggling to get the words out. Again and again, he said those same words. I held his hand more and more firmly, and with warm words and loving eyes holding back the tears, I reassured him that everything would be all right. Don't worry about anything. In September 3, 2012, my husband, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, ascended into God's embrace. He was 93 years old by the Korean way of counting and was laid to rest in Bonyangwon, which means the garden in the original hometown, beside a pond on Mount Chonsong. I had slipped into the top, gazing at the moon rising above Mount Chonsong. I cut it down with a jade axe and trim it with a gold axe to build a small cottage where I attend my mother and father. I want to live with them forever. I repeat this point to myself over and over. That is indeed a reaction video, but this is very, very touching, knowing that the life and the couple, the Dr. Hak Jahan Moon and Reverend Sang Yang Moon are truly parents, not only to their own children, not only to Korean, but also to many people of the world. I too, um, I call them my true parents because they stood for me as my the one who married me and my husband, who I believe was um, God has really blessed this couple to take the lead in restoring the world. Such a beautiful story. And uh, I read one more. Wildflowers smile on a mountain path. It's been raining a lot and the path will be slippery. My assistant informed me. Why don't you just rest today? Of course, she was concerned for my safety, and I thank her, but continued my preparation. In autumn, we have heavy rainstorm, and snow falls in the winter. There are countless reasons and excuses to stay inside, regardless. After his passing, I departed my room each day at dawn for breakfast at my husband's tomb, and upon returning, I prepare his breakfast and dinner. As I walk along the path up the hill to Bonyangwon, I and back, he and I shared many heart-to-heart conversation. My husband's thought became my thoughts, and my thoughts became his. Korean bonsai pine line the path to the Bonyangwon, and underneath them clusters of wildflowers bloom in the spring. During the winter, wildflowers disappear, but in spring they bloom profusely, as if competing with each other. I would stop on my way back to the steep incline to take a closer look at the grasses and flowers. They display their colors beautifully in the spring's bright morning sun. Whether I was there to admire them or not, I would become intoxicated with their beauty, caressing the wildflowers before resuming my ascent up the path. The walk was difficult, but my heart would be as serene as the flowers. When I would reach my husband's tomb, I would carefully check to see whether any weeds had sprouted among the blades of grass, or whether animals had left any traces. The lawn and the grave became greener and greener as time went by. Sitting alone in front of his tomb, I would pray for everyone in the world to be as beautiful as wildflowers, to have minds as strong as pine trees, and to always live prosperous lives as green as a summer lawn. On my way down, I would say farewell to the flowers and pine trees. My friends of the natural world, I will meet you again tomorrow. The path I would walk as the same day was the same each day, but the weather was never the same. There would be days when I felt the warm rays of the sun. There were windy days, rainy days, when thunder roared and lightning struck, and snowy days covering everything in white. During this 3 year period of devotion, I also retraced my husband's travel throughout the United States, traveling nearly 4,000 miles as my husband had done in 1965, and and visited the 12 mountain peaks which he had toured in the Swiss Alps to pray and meditate. Through this devotion, our spiritual oneness deepened into eternity. In traditional Korea, offering such filial devotion is remembrance of one's deceased parents as was expected, representing the family as the first son would build a small hut just the west of his father's or mother's tomb and leave it for 3 years, regardless of the weather, even if unable to eat properly or make a living through this period. Those 3 years repeated represent the 3 years after we were born, when we receive our father and especially our mother's full love and care, without which we would not have survived. This time of devotion is a time of acknowledge. It's a time to acknowledge, show gratitude, and return that love and kindness. Today, there are too many people who forget their fathers and mothers' kindness. From those who lack filial piety toward their own parents, comprehension of heavenly parent and true parents who have shed tears over humanity's suffering cannot be expected. People today live without any connection to the true parents, not knowing that they are here on earth. To awaken people who have eyes but cannot see, my husband's wife, I offer devotion in remembrance of True Father every day for 3 years on behalf of all people. With this depth of commitment, I promise my husband and all the members of the worldwide movement, I will bring us back to the spirit of the early days of our church, and I will create a revival through spirits and truth. I dream of a church that feels like a mother's warm embrace, a church that's like a home, where people always want to come and stay. This is my husband's dream as well. Honoring him, I made the decision to dedicate myself to God and all of humankind even more than before. Since that hour, I have never fully rested. Then in 2015, moved by my husband's unchanging heart, I prepared my gift to humanity. I prepared my gift for humanity. May the Sun-Hawk Peace Prize May the Sun-Hawk Peace Prize stand forever as an expression of his eternal commitment to peace. Wow. Um, Many of this that was read, thank you. Ramon Arias says, love and kindness could overcome anything. And this is just the beginning of this book. This is Mother of Peace, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, is just beginning sharing her story. And um, for me to heard her speak, especially that piece where she talked about the 3 years after her parents um, passing, the child should offer devotion and show gratitude to the grave of the parents. I heard her say that when she was in yes, Ramona, if you really need to get a copy, it's at Amazon.com. Amazon, it's 17.99. But this is a book that really will change everyone's heart to understand the power of women, the power of not only a woman, God's daughter. This is a woman who, a true leader in our time, who can truly, who has embraced so much. She has been married at a young age of 15, 14 children, lost five children of her own died, and her husband passed away. This is a woman who actually experienced all life's experiences: death of a husband, death of a child, and tremendous persecution from poverty to everything. This is a woman who, um, her book, it's just the beginning of the book, but more to it will be shared later on in the book. I haven't read the book. This is my first day to get the book, so I am just excited to share this with you. And I hope that yes, thank you. Get this book, and maybe we can share together, like a book club on what you read, what you understand from that message, and let's share together. I think this book is very empowering as well to all women to understand that women are not weak. Our femininity is not a weakness, it is our strength that God needs at this time and age to complete human history, because God is not just male. God is a woman too. So this is this is a one thing that Dr. Hak Jahan Moon emphasize, or can show to us in her example of the power and leadership of women is what can bring the world to a better place. Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward that you can get the book and we can read together. Um, I appreciate all of you for joining, and yes, I hope that you can get a copy, Ramona. I got this at Amazon.com. So so I think it's 17.99. I used my husband's card. He did not know I bought a card. I bought because he's the one who got the Amazon. So yes, thank you. We need to spread unity, love, and peace even more now. Yes, that's why I'm trying to read this book. If you will allow me to read one more, it's just the Sanhak peace culture. Looking into the hazy summer sky, I queried what the weather was going to be like the next day. Will there be showers in the morning? I was told, with lots of clouds. With a smile on my face, I accepted that was how it was going to be. Rain has poured down during many of our Unification Church events. It was more than 40 years ago that heavy showers and strong winds swept through our Yankee Stadium rally in New York. Heavy rain also fell all day long during the international blessing of 360,000 couples, as well as during the inauguration of the Women's Federation for World Peace at the Seoul Olympic Stadium. I have grown to accept rain at such time with gratitude as a gift. So it rained in August 28, 2015, the day of the first Sanhak Peace Prize award ceremony. That day, hundreds of guests converged on our hotel in Seoul, moving quickly through the downpour. Summer's last cleansing gift. Thankfully, when the doors opened, the skies cleared, and this felt like God's joyful welcome to our guests. These were special people, leaders from all fields, gathered throughout the global village, many traversing long distances for the sake of peace. Everyone desires peace, but peace does not come easily. If it were as a commonplace as stones on the side of a country road or trees on a mountainside, we would never have experienced the terrible wars and conflict that plague the human world. But bringing peace demands that everyone invests sweat, tears, and sometimes blood. That is why, even though we long for peace, we seldom achieve it. To experience true peace, we must first practice true love without expectation or reward. My husband and I walk this path, and I continuing on it. I prepared the Sanhak Peace Prize as a gift to the world from Father Moon. Ah, and this year's Sanhak Peace Prize 2020 is Ban Ki-moon, the last president of UN. I can testify that Truly, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, every time she start on something and be installed, heavy rain always came. She said the Women's Federation for World Peace initiate the founding rally in April 2012. I mean 1992, pouring rain when she was installed, and in the time of her installation as the leader of the federa- women, the Family Federation for World Peace after the ascension of her husband in Korea. I was there in Seoul, in the same stadium. A severe typhoon came, and while we're coming into that stadium of 30,000 people, there's no rain, but you can see the clouds is coming, getting heavier and heavier. And by the time she spoke, and after she spoke, the typhoon just devastated Korea. I was there pulling my luggage bag, and I experienced it for myself to see that every time this woman, Dr. Hakjan Moon, this true leader, mother of peace, stands up for something, rain and showers of thunder will always come upon her. It only shows that really God is with her. But I'm sure Satan is not happy. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Ramona, for letting me read some more. And yes, you are right. We need to spread unity, love, and peace even more now. I hope that you too can have a good experience reading this book. Charlotte says it is so deep inside. You can heal mother's heart, natural heart, and all the paths she went through as the only begotten daughter of God. Oh, I can't wait to read what's inside. This is just the beginning of the book, and I'm already excited. And I hope you can join me in the next time I would read it again. 1 hour passes by so quickly, and thank you so much for joining me and this reading of the Mother of Peace, the book Mother of Peace. And I invite you to get your book, get your copy, and let's read it together. And the more we read together, we can do it online. Reading together online would be more exciting, and hearing your experience and your inspiration from what we read in this book today. Thank you so much, and I hope that you will also get more inspiration and be inspired that finally a woman is here to lead us, and she is the mother of peace. And thank you so much for joining, and I appreciate all of you for joining with me into this broadcast. I did not mean to read for 1 hour, but I felt this is I have not even finished the whole chapter, the first chapter. And come, get this book and let's read it together. And I appreciate all of you for joining, and thank you so much. And God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless.